Bert Oliva's Mastermind Circle.
Hello and welcome back to another Mastermind Circle session. Today we have an amazing interview for you. However, I like to start with, first of all, welcoming all the new guests, all the new members. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Bert Oliva. I've been doing seminars at a professional level for over 21 years now. And I usually will do an introduction of a video that actually will tell you a little bit more about what I do and the rules and the way that mastermind is run, and then we'll get started with the interview. One thing I do want to bring up is we have a new sponsor for this entire month coming up, and it's Lifeline, and you'll know more about them because I'm about to put them up. But they also have 10 people that they're sponsoring. So if you're a member and you know of anyone that can use this program, please do not hesitate to contact Belinda or Valerie, and they will talk to Lifeline and get you a free membership for a month. So we have 10, as of today, we have 10 membership that we're giving away for those members that know of someone that can use this program. Okay, guys, you ready? Well, let me give you the introduction before we get started.
Bert Oliva is an international orator. He speaks around the world about his experiences and teaches humanology, the scientific study of human potential. He has enchanted audiences all over the world, showing them the power of mind over matter.
He's one of the most talented speakers out here, and I highly recommend him to any type of
The more prepared you are, the luckier you'll be.
He is the world-renowned authority on leadership and human behavior.
Mr. Bert Oliva.
Bert Oliva!
He's considered the voice of inspiration and motivation. Today, he'll pass his knowledge on to all of us.
For over 2 decades, Bert Oliva has touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Bert has a dedicated social media following and an impressive online influence few possess, enabling him to communicate with audiences he has touched near and far.
I think he's one of the greatest motivators out there.
The thing I love about Bert is he's on stage and he gives his heart every single time.
He has developed many programs, recorded audio CDs, and written books, all of which to help those ranging from individuals to corporate and Fortune 500 companies. He has dedicated his life to speaking all over the globe and met some of the most influential and powerful people in the world.
Okay, let's go.
He has also coached highly successful business executives and politicians.
Normally seen as impossible.
I believed it and I did it.
An infectious motivator.
So get ready to learn tools that will help you tap into your potential.
Pay attention, this is real stuff.
Get ready to have an experience you won't soon forget. Please help me welcome Bert Oliva.
I'm really excited about today's interview for several reasons. I'm about to do a slide that will give you more of a breakdown on who this man is. But I just need to share something before I even get there. This is one of the guys that, and it's funny because I can call him guys, because not only is he a great friend of mine, he was one of my biggest, and still is, one of my biggest mentors. I always learn when I see this man on stage. I mean, what you guys are in for tonight is a massive treat. He actually opened my doors to get into the professional circuit when I got into seminars, because I was doing seminars for many years, and then he taught me the ropes. He's by far one of the top, I would say, one of the top 3 speakers in the world as a platform speaker. He's spoken with Donald Trump, he's spoken with Robert Kiyosaki, and that's just to name a few. Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. I mean, I'm not even going to steal his thunder. Let me go ahead and give you the introduction of who he is before I bring him right in.
How do you make millions of dollars? A lot of people have asked that question, including Omar Periu, a young Cuban immigrant newly arrived in Miami 40 years ago. But unlike most, he did not stop at wondering. He actively, persistently sought to find the answer. And by the age of 31, Omar Periu was a multi-millionaire. Today, he now devotes himself to teaching others how to become wealthy, and he's here tonight to share some of that knowledge with us. So let's welcome the master motivational teacher himself, Omar Periu.
Omar, can you hear me?
Yes, Bert, how are you?
Good, good. You know, I'm first of all, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to being able to meet with us and be able to share your story, because I got some little secrets for you. I want to show you some little images up here because we did a little bit more of homework of your background and the stuff that you've done. And you're an inspiration to me and to my entire team. And I love seeing you on stage. I love working with you. So tell me, Omar, where did it all start? I know you're from Cuba, but give us a breakdown. Where did it all start?
As you know, I came from Cuba when I was a very young man. We escaped. My mother escaped with the kids, so we wouldn't get caught. My father stayed back. And we got to the Freedom Tower in Miami. We stayed there for about 6 months, and I got pretty sick, you know, and all that. But we were sponsored by the Peter Pan program to Joliet, Illinois, Chicago area. So we landed O'Hare, no money, no credit, no family, no friends. We don't speak English. We've never felt cold air. So, but you know, there was a priest there waiting with a coat, and they took us to a one-bedroom apartment. They had single beds, Bert, in each corner of the living room. And my dad escapes after 6 months, and he gets there, and you know, some kids were nice, but a lot of people, we were the only Hispanic family, so they didn't want a Cuban family in you know, regular neighborhood like that. So I ate a lot of yellow snow. Kidding, they used to throw me in the bushes and things like that. But
you know, I think I have a picture of this street. You remember the street?
Yeah, I do.
This house.
Yeah, that's the house. Yeah. How did you get that?
Man,
oh my God!
This is the house where it all started, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's the house we first lived in, and of course, you know, we didn't even own it. We rented it, and it came first from the church, stuff like that. So yeah. And so we struggled a lot, but thank God, you know, my mom and dad are loving people, and they gave us, the four of us, a lot of love, and you know, made me who I am today. My parents are good people. Hey, there's my mom and dad. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, my mom's 89 in a month, and my dad's 87. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a great time, and a lot of nice people there, and I did well in sports, but my father, there he is right there, not speaking English, had accumulated 3 gas stations and auto parts and a block worth of real estate.
That's the school that you said you graduated from, right?
Yeah, Joy Catholic High. I went to an all-boys school. It was unbelievable, like 880 boys. So when we got out on the weekends, it was crazy. You know, we were ready to have fun.
Also, you know what I found? I found this picture too.
Oh my God. I was in a band, so I grew my hair on the sides. I wish I had that hair now, you know.
and that's where this whole thing, seeing your father, you know, make the gas stations, be able to become a little successful, well, very successful in the average person's mind. So you weren't going to follow his footsteps? You know, as soon as you got out of school, you weren't going to open your own gas stations and so forth?
Well, he lost them all. So that was my goal, but he lost everything from having his entrepreneurship from Cuba, didn't speak the language, and he lost everything 2 times. He literally was so embarrassed when he lost everything in Joliet that he moved to Boca Raton because he had some friends here, and he got a job as an employee gate guard at the Boca Raton Resort Club, and my mother got a job as a maid there. So he left me there. They left me at the age of 16 and a half with my brother, my older brother, and so I lived with them in a basement, and not like a fixed up basement, you know, the old basement with the furnaces and all that. Yeah, with a little single bed there. So yeah, and I got a job as a laborer in a stone quarry, and it was one of those jobs that I hated so much. I don't know, guys, if you ever had a job like this, that you fake going to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Hey, I had it down to an art. If you could fake going to the bathroom 10 minutes a day, you'd be getting paid 40 hours a year for free.
In school, what were you studying in school? I think it was opera.
Yeah, music, opera. I'm a voice performance major. I'm a lyric tenor. Yeah,
so,
and that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I went out to California, so I'd be discovered, but I wasn't, of course. So I got a job in a health club training people. I was a personal trainer for Tom Selleck and Magnum PI, Gregory Harrison from Logan's Run, the guy, remember Sam Jones from the movie 10, and Flash Gordon, I was his personal trainer. Anyway, but I saw salespeople making a lot of money, so I went into sales, and I didn't do so hot. And I met my mentor. I met Tom Murphy, who managed Speaker. He had a company called Champions Unlimited, and he managed Tom Hopkins, Jim Rohn, worked with Bob Proctor, Zig Ziglar, Daniel, Kennedy, just to name a few.
Yeah, but before you got there, what was the process? I mean, you left school, you wanted to be a superstar, you wanted to sing, and that didn't work out. So, give us a story like you normally tell. What happened? I mean, because
I was struggling tremendously, and my dad just he had lost everything, so he had to take care of the rest of the kids and my mom and him. So I worked as in the stone quarry, and I worked as cleaning pulleys and greasing them. So I worked 30 feet underground, and it's not a great place for a lyric tenor to be. I was choking on stone dust. So I saved up my money, and on the way out there, I had an old GTO, and I lost my U-Haul. So they took all my cash because I didn't have a credit card. And then I got to LA, and I had $51, and I looked up, and there it was, the Sepulveda Apartments. They're still there. I couldn't believe it. I was just there 3 months ago. Sepulveda Apartments, and I got a studio for $51 a week. So it was interesting, to say the least.
Tell us what type of meals you were eating.
Tuna out of cans. Cases of tuna. I don't like tuna anymore. I like the real tuna, but not that tuna. And I'd get cases of tuna, and that's what I would eat. I would eat tuna and water. That was it. Yeah.
And what about your car? Tell us about your car.
Yeah, I had this old GTO. It smoked so much oil, Bert. People used to laugh at me. I'd leave a green light. They couldn't see when I left. And in fact, it was a big joke with my friends. Didn't matter what my dates looked like because I couldn't see them anyway, So they used to laugh at me because it smoked so much oil. It was terrible. I used to hide my car, Bert, 2 blocks away from my apartment because the collectors were looking to take it because I owed money on it.
but you're doing training for the celebrities, and so you're doing a little bit better, but you still, you said one of the things I want you really to tell us is, at the end of the day, some people are just happy being at that level. Wow, I'm a celebrity trainer. I'm dealing with the creme of the creme, especially back then, right? Or even today. My son wants to be a trainer. So if he had that type of database, that's great. But you just said something to me a little while ago that you said to us that, when you realize that salespeople really make money,
Right.
Tell me that transition.
Well, I watched people that were doing sales in the health clubs, and they were driving nice cars, dressing nice, lived in nice places. And so I thought, wow, that sounds like something I want to do. And, my goal was to, take care of my parents, because my parents lost everything. They lived in an apartment, and I wanted more in my life. I think one of the keys to being successful, you and I have talked about, is wanting more, right? Wanting more is a great motivator. So that transition was, well, I met Tom Murphy, and he managed Tom Hopkins, and he worked with Zig Ziglar and all that. Anyway, so he sent me to Tom Hopkins.
How did you bump into him, though?
He was the investor of the health clubs. So he was the investor of the health clubs. And he said, look, kid, if you want to be somebody, you got to go to this seminar. So he traded me personal training for a boot camp. So I went to Tom Hopkins' boot camp, and I met Tom, and, he worked with me and built me up. I went from being the worst salesperson, #1 in the country in sales in health and fitness.
Like you said, you always wanted more.
Yeah.
So you got comfortable for a little bit, and then what happened?
Well, it's exactly what happened. I made like 6 figures my first year, and I was 21 years old. That's a lot of money for a 21-year-old in those days.
Right? A lot of people these days, too.
Yeah. So I was like, but Murphy pulled me over, my mentor, and he said, how you doing so far? I said, I'm doing great. He says, well, how much money have you put in the bank? He said, tell me by zeros. I said, 0. He says, what? I didn't sell you that plan. And he said, what are you doing? He said, well, I like to go out to nice restaurants. I leased a 450 SL Mercedes-Benz. I like to dress well. I got myself a Rolex. He says, you're going to be broke your whole life. So I said, what do you mean? He says, well, he introduced me to Jim Rohn. And I said to Jim Rohn, I can't afford things. And he said, wrong philosophy, kid. He said, you need to make more money. So he said, the only way you can make more money is go into management. So I became general manager of one club. And then Murph was the owner. And Murph says, if you come up with 20 grand, I'll give you ownership of this club. So I went out and opened up a paint company. I got a credit card at Sears, got a compressor, and I would go out and outbid contractors for $100 less to paint apartments. I would do the spraying, and my bodybuilding friends would do the trim for $6 an hour. So I raised 20 grand in 6 months, and I sold the business for 20 grand to one of my bodybuilding friends. So I walked into Mr. Murphy and I said, here, Mr. Murphy, here's 20 grand for the first one, and here's 20 grand for the second one. Wow. And he says, I'm impressed. So he created a incremental steps that if I hit certain numbers in sales with the people, that I would get 10% more. So I ended up with 40% of the health clubs. I ended up building 28 health clubs, went on my own after like the first 7. So the rest I own by myself. So I had 28, and the first 7 he owned with me. After that, I own them all.
So at that time, I would have given up. I said, no, I'm done. I'm set for life. Because you
right.
Real estate. But that wasn't enough. So what happened after that?
Well, then I wanted to be a recording artist, and I know that you probably found something Omar con Amor, right? I won in the old days. They didn't recognize us Hispanics with the Grammys, so in Miami they had the Chin de Plata and the Otto Sirgo, and I won that 1986, 87, 88, both of those. I wanted to get a record contract, and I did get one contract from Sony, and this agent told me, turn it down, it's not a good deal, which I could kick myself in the pants now for doing that. But I turned that one down. So I went into other record companies and they told me I wasn't good enough. So the gentleman who owned this record company, I bought it. I bought the company. He didn't know I bought it. His name is Arturo de la Parra. We became very close friends. And he had like all these magazines and record companies in Mexico. Wonderful gentleman. And I walked in and I said, Arturo, he goes, Omar, he's real nice. He says, look, I can't give you a record contract. Some guy just bought the company and he's coming in today. And I said, Arturo, please give me a contract. He says, I can't. I said, well, Arturo, you're going to have to because I bought the company. So I bought the company he was working at. So he cracked up. We became close. We were already friends, but we became close for many years, about 30 years.
But you were always hungry when you were young. I mean, there was a story there that you didn't share, which was when you even though Tom Murphy taught you so much, you even told him that I'll stay in your house if I have to.
Yeah.
So
and I did. I stayed in his house for 6 weeks at a time for the first 3 years. And he had this big mansion in a place called Desert Highlands in Scottsdale, Arizona. And he didn't even know I was there. Him and his lovely wife, Connie, let me stay there. And I would stay there and he would train me and grill me and tell me, I need 1,000 goals out of you and I need you to memorize, 57 closes. And he would just hammer me and pump, It was, most people would not put up with that, but I was hungry. Like you said, I was already a millionaire.
Right.
So, and then when I went to work for Tom Hopkins, I was a multimillionaire, and I went from that to starting from scratch. As you know, when you start out, you don't make a lot of money. So I'll never forget that Murph tells me, your first year, you're going to make about $200,000. I made $67,000. I was making that a month with my health clubs. So I'm like, so anyway, it ended up okay. So
being around Tom Murphy and Tom Hopkins itself is amazing. I mean, those guys, Tom Murphy was actually the creator, like Napoleon Hill. He was right in the beginning of this whole thing that now we have 2 million motivational speakers all over the world. When I started years ago, it was just a handful. And you were one of those guys at the top. That's why, we ended up meeting at one of the weddings. And I'm like, I just heard your voice. And I knew that's Omar, and the thing is, now, it's a different type of business. Back then, it was really hard because we didn't have internet. We didn't have right. So you really had to push hard and really get to know your craft. So let's look at this a little bit. You were successful, got out of school, did what you were supposed to do. You did everything. And then, you started making some good money. You became a millionaire at a young age. And most people would stop there. And you said, no, I don't want that. I want more. Then you became a multimillionaire. Then why keep working? Why keep pushing? Why get into an industry that you're going to make $60,000 when you're making that much every month?
What happened was I walked into a diner and there was Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, and Tom Murphy. And they said, look, we're getting up there and we want you to step in and start working with us. And if you do for 10 years, I will help you launch your career. So Tom Hopkins wrote the foreword to my book, Investigative Selling, which did very well. Zig Ziglar wrote his only 3 forewords in his life. One was for John Maxwell. The other one was for Tony Geary, who worked with him, and then myself before he passed away. for my book, From Management to Leadership. So they kept their promise that if I would commit myself to them to take the load off of them, that they would launch my career, and they did. But I at first I really didn't want to do this because I wanted to sing, and I really didn't want to be a speaker. And what happened was when you know what this is like about, Bert, when you start talking to individuals and mentoring them and helping them and watching them grow and their families and seeing them succeed, it kind of like, it makes you feel, it's a feeling of abundance. That's kind of like for everyone that's listening to us, anytime you do anything that gives to your community, that's the kind of feeling I get when I'm helping other entrepreneurs become better.
Yeah, that's a lot of, and I appreciate that you say that, because a lot of people get in the business for the celebrity status quo of some sort, and if you're doing it for that, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You really see the changes in people's lives when you see that they listen to one of your quotes or something, a quote that you quoted someone else that said something. You're giving them this information, and you see the transformation in their life. That just fills you so much. You know, that's really one of the things that keeps me motivated to keep doing it, is that you see the changes in people, but those people that really want to change. You know, I mean, let me tell you something. We're friends right now, and you've been my mentor, but it wasn't free. You know, the process was, you told me, Bert, you want this? You know, set up the first event. So I went out and I paid for everything to have you as a guest speaker. But people are not willing to do that. You got to pay to learn. You will, and if you really respect someone's time and knowledge, it shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. You really want to learn from the expert. It's like that. You mentioned two great books. One of my favorite ones. One of my favorite sales book is the Negotiating book, and that book is a book that if you don't have it, you need to go get it. And then I don't like to upsell in these presentations, because it's not about that. It's about the interview. But it's really important to read books, and that's one of the books that. So how old is that book now?
It's 15 years old.
Yeah, Investigative Selling by Omar Periu. Look how old it is, and it's still one of the top best books if you want to know how to sell. I mean, all my trainers and all the people that work in my organization, they need to read your book. You know, in fact, the sponsor for today's event, Lifeline, he's reading your book. You know, because I tell them, look, if you want to know how to sell, there's a lot of new sales techniques. Just learn the basics. Learn how to really communicate with people, you know? So when you started doing it again, you went from not, because you're not really a motivational speaker. No. You're a motivational teacher. You teach instead of just motivating people. It's part of the process. But you started your organization in 1994. Is that when, you know, Omar Periu International launched? Because you were already doing this for these guys? What happened?
Well, what happened was I was doing 80 cities a year with Tom Hopkins. And then we started doing those success seminars with Peter Lowe. They're now called Get Motivated, which I'm still on. And what happened was I told Murph I'm not making enough money. So he said, why don't you open up Omar Periu International, and anything that comes in for you, or somebody comes up or we can't handle it, we'll give it to you, and that's how we'll compensate you more. So I added 7 figures to my income immediately the first year in '94. So, you know, because that's when Tom, as you said, Tom Hopkins was the guy. I mean, his audiences were 1,200 people, and I was his only authorized speaker in the world. So we were putting 1,200 people in the room. Well, of those 1,200, people would say, hey, you know, I can't afford to bring in Tom Hopkins for $25,000, but I can afford you for $6,000, because that's what I got then. And I'm like, fine, let's go. And so I went from, you know, $3,000 to $6,000 to $10,000 to 15, and built my way up. But it all started with nothing.
You also did something for the government and the U.S. Army.
I'm honored to be one of the 4 authorized speakers in the world for the U.S. Army, the recruiters, the Coast Guard. I work with all the military, and there's a lot that you have to go through to be, you know, authorized to do that. It's not easy. Once you get in and you work hard, and you know, I teach fundamentals to the recruiters in all areas of our country. Yeah, I love it. Good people.
And is that when you ended up going to Boca, like around 2002?
I moved to Boca, yes, around 2002, yeah, right around there. And I moved back because I got married and I wanted my kids to be around my parents. It was my wife, Helen.
There goes your wife, Helen.
Okay, guys, she's a little younger than I am. It works for us. Money.
Where were you at in your life the time that you met her?
It's funny. I was traveling, singing, and I came here, and her mother, I was actually on a date with another girl. And the girl went to the bathroom, and her mother came up and told me I'm with the wrong girl. Is that funny? And she says, you need to meet my daughter. She's not here. She's in New York. Well, I wasn't going to call her. She was 17. So 2 years later, I'm back in Florida singing in Miami. And I was out with the same girl. We're just friends, just hanging out. And she said, come here. And she introduced me to my wife. And I've been with her ever since, 26 years.
26 years. Right here, I have a picture of my children with your children when we were at Disney.
Yeah, we had a blast. Remember that guy sprayed us with the jet skis?
So tell me how your beautiful wife and you what happened? You decided to have children. You were ready for a family.
Yeah, what happened? It's kind of hard to be settled down when you've got 25,000 screaming people everywhere you go, and it's pretty easy to be with people and stuff. So I finally decided I wanted to get settled down, have a family, and we got married and had 2 children. Now they're 14 and 17. Yeah. I saw the picture there. When we went, they were like
babies.
Yeah. Same with yours too.
Like you said, I mean, people can't fathom the thought when you have 25,000 people in an auditorium. I mean, it can get to your head. And one of the things I love about it is that the Omar I met years ago is still the same Omar today. What is it that you do in order for it not to get to your head? Because, I mean, you are not one of these speakers that, have been on stage with 500 people. No, we're talking about thousands.
Yeah. In fact, I was with 20,000 people last week. So our average audience right now is 5 to 20,000 right now is what we have. But you know what? I believe that there's certain people that don't know how to turn it off, right? You know what I'm talking about. There's people on stage that don't know how to turn it off when they get off stage. My goal is to be more humble when I'm off stage, so I remember my own difficulties, and I want to be who I am. I want to be true to myself. When I'm on stage, we're both, as you know, bigger, more powerful, more energetic, outgoing. But I want to be that same guy. I don't want to change,
And that's what I love about you, Omar, because what you see is what you get. When they see you on stage, it's the same person. It's not like you're all pumped up and amped up and everything's great, and then you get off stage, you're like soft-spoken. No, this is it. Yeah. It vibrates at a different level, but it's the same type of person that goes on that stage and comes off that stage. And that's one of my attractions. I mean, that's most of the people that I bring to the show, to the Mastermind group, for them to come in, is people like that. Like Les has been a great support, and he's coming soon to one of the interviews. And that's what I'm talking about. When people try too hard, whenever you see these people that are trying too hard, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be, learning from them. I want to learn from people that are really going to teach you things and really things that they've done. I mean, you're also, look, you're at a position in your life right now that you really never have to work again for the rest of your life.
I haven't had to work for 20 years. And so I continue to do this to help others because I learned so much from all these mentors. And I feel like I need to contribute and give back. And it's fun for me. I love it. I love watching people grow. I've seen people start real estate businesses, and now they have, huge businesses. As you know, there's people that work with you that worked with me before. I've got corporations I work with from Motorola to Oracle to Microsoft to startups, mom and dad. I took one gentleman who has a construction company from 1.4 million to 34 million in 1 year. So I love that because I get to live through them. I get to help them, and I don't get a piece of the company. I just help them out and mentor them.
And all the big companies and big speakers in the world look after you. They look for you. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Robert Kiyosaki, every event that he put out, you were the main person.
Yeah, he had me at every event. It was great. It was Robert Kiyosaki. Well, I would kick it off. Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins and Donald Trump. And we did that for 3 years. Can you imagine? What a group. And it was fun being in the green room with Donald Trump and Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki. And by the way, out of those 4 gentlemen, I was the one that outsold everybody from the platform and paid for them, actually.
That's why I said in the beginning of the seminar, or the presentation, or the interview, the beginning of the interview, the reason I said that you're one of the top 3 platform speakers in the world, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You get hired to sell because you will outsell most anybody, that, and it's not in a bad way. You will really get them to understand the program, what it is they're getting, and the point that you've mastered the art of sell. And
yeah, well, the way I look at it, Bert, if I don't sell them, I'm doing them a disservice, because we both know, you know me, you know my heart, you know my family, I know your family. My stuff works if you apply it. I don't want them buying another speaker's crap, for a lack of a better word, because, you know, you and I our hearts are in the right place. But most speakers, you're their next meal, you're their next car payment, you're their next house payment. With me, my accountant did my taxes just a few months ago, and he said, why are you working? Why are you working? He said, you'd have to like blow $3.5 million every year till you're 100 years old to be broke, and you're not going to do that. And he said, but I love what we're doing, and I'm about, giving and, doing what I love to do, and that's helping others.
And one thing I also see is that you have a balanced life, because it's not just all about work and your career. I mean, every summer you go out to California. Why is that?
I promised my wife and kids that when they were 7, I said, when you turn 7, and now they're 14 and 17, so it's been over 10 years, I'm going to dedicate the summer to you. So every summer, I rent a house on the ocean in California, and I get up and we go down and walk on the corals and look at the fish and starfish. And at night we go and we climb in the mountains in Laguna Beach. That's where I go. Laguna Beach is like Monte Carlo for the United States. So we go there and walk around and listen to music and go look at art and just kind of like invest. I mean, we both are family oriented. We're very present with our kids. I think the greatest thing you can give a child is to be present and invest your life into their life, right? So they can learn by example how to live and have a full life. Not just money, spiritual health, happiness, and wealth.
I mean, for example, your children, what's your son's name?
Maxwell.
Why is that?
Because I worked with John Maxwell for about 5 years, and I became really close to him, and so I named him after John Maxwell. Yeah.
And John Maxwell, he's about spirituality. He's all about the connection. So
he's a good man.
Yeah, he's an amazing person, and you are, and that's what it is. I mean, people think it's all about the money. The money gives you the flexibility to do things like what you're talking about, being able to take off, for an entire summer. Some people can't take off for a day, or
right.
Like you said, some of them have that little recipe of going to the bathroom so they don't have to work.
I did that. I remember that. It was awful. I would fake going to the bathroom so I wouldn't have to. The first thing I'd do would go to work, and then I'd go to the bathroom so I wouldn't have to look at my boss, because I didn't like working for somebody else. That's a good point you're bringing up, Bert, because I believe you got to have the pain pleasure principle, right? You got to have that pain that you don't want to work for somebody. I didn't want to work for somebody so bad that I went out and did my own thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of people have a misconception of what their pain is and what's pleasurable. So they follow the thing called money when they should follow what they love to do. Money will come if you love what you do. I mean, it's not a coincidence that you made money in everything you did.
Right.
The reason is because you loved it. You loved music. You did really well in music, to the point that you bought out the studio in order for them to record you, right?
Right.
And all that comes from your upbringing. Your parents are amazing people. I mean, we had the privilege to be able to meet them. We were there a couple of years back on his birthday, and your father's birthday, and man, he is such a cool person.
Thank you.
And that helps a lot. Now, people also want to know, if you're that wealthy, do you have, it's all about the wife, it's all about the children, it's all about travels, but you got to share with them the love that you have for toys like this. Because remember, the GTO that was full of smoke has come a long way.
Yeah, those days are over. Now I collect exotic cars. That's my latest car. That's a racing Martini, was built for me in Germany, and it's 610 horse. It's the new 911 Porsche. If you go on Porsche, you'll see the new Porsche that just came out. That's the 911R. It's called the Rough, and the Rough is very fast and crazy. So that's my latest toy right there. But I collect them. I love them.
You're in sales. Everyone's ashamed of saying that because they compare themselves to, you know, an automobile salesperson or this a pushy salesperson. We're all selling one time or another. You're either selling your wife to eat Mexican or Italian food, or your children are selling you when they're going to a Publix or a supermarket, right? So, you know, tell them some principles. They can learn how to take their life to that next level.
People have to first pre-plan and prepare their days. So every night before you go to bed, write down the 10 most important things you must do the next day. Prioritize. I have a little saying, Bert. Any entrepreneur that wakes up without a plan is unemployed. So you got to wake up with a plan. Number 2, remember, guys, until you create interest, you are nothing but an interruption in sales. And that's really important to know. Because think about it, when you're going to sell someone, I know people get frustrated when they go in and talk to someone and the person doesn't invite them to do their presentation. But think about it. You're asking them to change products, services, salespeople, software, who knows, whatever. So until you create interest, you're nothing but an interruption. So it's very important that your 60-second, 3-minute speech when you first talk to somebody creates interest so they want to hear more. The next thing is you got to build rapport and build relationships. You know, networking, building rapport, building relationships. You got to go out there and have those relationships because most really great opportunities come from the relationships you have. So that's just a few things. Learn to close. You got to learn to close by mastering, and I really don't have time to cover like embedded commands, final closing sequence, test closes, but all these, it's an art, it's a science, and you can master it. Anybody can master it.
If they actually look you up, which we'll give them the information, I definitely, if you're able to attend one of his seminars or wherever he's at in the country, I definitely, or anywhere in the world, I definitely recommend that you go see Omar. And it's like I said, it's not a motivational, he's a teacher. He will give you the tools and techniques. I mean, he helped us a lot when we first started our career years ago. And I just, to this day, I still use some of those tools. And every time I talk to you, I always get something new, you know, because you never stop learning. Tell me the most terrifying moment in your life. You know, one time that was very difficult and, you know, you just wanted to give up.
Well, the day that I sat in that 200 square foot apartment and I had lost my car. They took my car. I was walking to work. I was having a real tough time, and I was praying really hard, and I really thought about just going back to Joliet and getting a job. You know, it's just kind of like go back to this as a stone quarry. But that's the day I met Mr. Murphy. But that was a tough day. I sat there and I prayed harder than I ever prayed before in my life. And thank God the Lord answered and introduced me to Murph, because Murph opened a lot of doors for me. So, but that was a tough day.
Yeah, but I want them to know too that he just didn't open doors for everyone. You had to stand out. You had to do something in order for him to see your potential and say, you know what, kid, you have it.
Yeah, and it's funny you should say it because we had that conversation. He's going to be 81 this year in August, and we still talk every 2 weeks. And he lives in California, in Scottsdale, so I see him when I'm out there. And I said to him, why me, about 10 years ago? And he said, because you were the most coachable person I ever met. And you know what it was, Bert? I was so broke, so hungry, so disappointed, disillusioned, sick of my stinking life. I got sick of being sick of myself, and I wanted more. And I figured, what do I got to lose if I just do everything this guy tells me to do? I had nothing to lose. I was so screwed. I had to do something else.
Do you still think that way? Are you still hungry? Or like
I'm still hungry, but I'm comfortable. And that's I gotta tell you, the toughest thing I fight every day is comfort. Comfort is the biggest enemy to growth, because you know, I take the summers off and people call me up and say, do you want to speak? And I'm like, no, I'm having fun. But comfort is your biggest enemy, because, you know, we all talk about life balance and all that, But when you're comfortable, you stop working towards your destiny, right? You need to grow. And the only way you grow is by creating new charting new waters, new goals, getting out there and making new things happen.
And you still do that to this day, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm finishing up a book with Tom Hopkins, which is going to be cool because I'm writing a book with my mentor. Wow. So that's kind of neat. That'll be out in September. I just finished another book with an educator Terry Brenzick, and now I'm doing another book with on prospecting. It'll be out in about 3 weeks. So I mean, I got 3 books out. It's the beginning of the year. Now it took last year to do these, but they'll be out. The third one with Hopkins will be out in September.
And that's what I wanted the listener and the viewers to watch, is that does not matter what level you are in life. The whole thing is not to get comfortable. That's a great message right there. Because a lot of people get comfortable. They get comfortable even before they become successful, even before they get the things they want to do. They get to
Yeah. It's funny you should say it, Bert, because a lot of times I talk to a lot of people that are doing well in sales or in business, and they don't realize that some of them will say, Omar, I always do well for the first 5 months, and then it goes downhill in the summer because, it's hot in Florida. Well, you know what? If you say it, you own it, right? So you got to tell yourself, when you get to that point of the 5th month when you start going down the tubes, you got to push harder then. You got to double up, talk to 10 more people a day, crank up the numbers, because if not, here it comes, and your mind is, is a servo mechanism. You teach that. And when you are attracting the same cycle, right? The same cycle, right? Because everything has a cycle. And if you're attracting the same cycle and you don't break that cycle, you're going to go into a slump.
And that's usually what people do all the time.
And they do. How many people became millionaires from 2005 to 2010, and now they're broke? And some of them didn't have a choice. They bought real estate, a lot of real estate investments they shouldn't have. But, some of them just...
it's funny that you say that, because I have a lot of friends, like you do too, that, they were filthy rich right before the downfall, and some of them gave up. But a lot of them, there's a handful of them that got back on their feet and have more money today than they did before they lost it. Again, it's all about the drive.
Well, if you think about it, as I wrote, I was with Trump for about 5 years. I spoke with him, but I also wrote his negotiations manuals and his commercial real estate courses. And Trump would tell the story every time he was on stage about how he was broke, and now he's worth more than he ever was. No matter how you think about him, the guy has comeback power, right? I mean, the guy's got that. So I don't agree with everything he says or does, but the guy does have comeback power. Yeah. So he went from being broke to being a billionaire. And he tells everybody, I knew that I would be back because my dad, his dad's name was Fred, taught me how to be successful. And I went to Wharton University, and they taught me how to succeed. And I knew I'd be back stronger than ever. And he is. Now he's running for president.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, let's remove politics out of the equation right now. I mean, I was able to spend some quality time with him. We were in Vegas in Caesar's Palace, and the guy that I spent time with was not the guy that I see on television.
Right.
Again, he knows what he's doing. He's doing his thing. But I don't want to become a whole Trump conversation on it, but the man that I spent time with, the guy that was with me in the green room, was a pretty great guy. He was pretty awesome and very intelligent, extremely intelligent. Even though he says he's the dumbest one in his group, he always surrounds himself with smarter people. He's pretty smart. He knows what he's doing, and that's what a lot of people do. I mean, success doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. You got to keep doing it, but you got to do it right. You got to get yourself the right mentors. You got to surround yourself. I remember being on stage with you. One of the lessons that I learned was you said, Bert, you're great. You can get the whole audience to jump up and down and do all these things, but can you sell? And I was like, well, what are you talking about, Omar? He said, no, you're not going to speak in my platform unless you can sell a product. Man, for 6 months, I went to the drawing board to create my mentorship program, and eventually you said, okay, now you're ready. I got on stage. I sold $20,000 in my first time.
And I was with you.
And and I was like, wow. What?
And I remember working with you, and I remember you tearing up when we sold that much because you couldn't believe that you pulled it off.
Yeah, but that was because, again, you pushed me. You told me, and we had done seminars together already, and you said, no, you got to push. And also, that was the only day my mother got to see me on stage before she passed away.
Wow.
So it was a double, it was a perfect opportunity. She saw everything. I mean, it was great. But that's what I tell people is, it's not just who you surround yourself with, it's who you go after.
Right.
You got to go after those people that are on top of you. So that way they push you because you want to get to that next level. Don't get caught.
Yeah, you want to be driven, you want to be driven. Like what you said earlier, in the old days, when Hopkins and Ziegler and Proctor and Rohn and Brian Tracy brought me on, those guys were doing 80 cities a year, 160 seminars a year. I couldn't believe Brian Tracy would do 175 cities a year. Now, if you're great on the internet, you can look bigger than both of us, right? I mean, some of these kids that are just, blowing up the internet, but and God bless them, I love it, but they don't have the experience that we have, right? So, but you can, if you know how to work the system that's hot right now, which is the internet, you can look like a monster out there.
Yeah, but eventually everything has a price.
Right.
And the thing is that when they see us live, it's a different, you can't capture it on video. It's
right.
Experience. You have to go through the process. And, when I started my career, there was only a handful of us. Now there's this, like, every time I turn around, there's another motivational speaker or guru or life coach or whatever, and that's great. And that's good for them. However, we set ourselves aside by creating our niche. And at the end of the day, come to a seminar. Come to see Omar live. Come to see Bert live. Go see Les Brown live. When you see those people, then you'll see the difference. It's a big difference talking on the internet and doing this stuff. We're doing this so our mastermind group can learn from the people that have already done it or they're in the process of doing it, the real thing. So before we close this up, I'm going to have questions coming up, live questions, because this is a platform that allows us to do that. So we're about to wrap up. Guys and ladies, folks, put out your questions for Omar. Get ready. Remember, we always want the people that are going to go live. We're going to have about 7 questions before we call it a night. And get ready for that. But before I bring you guys in for the questions, I want you guys, remember that when you're asking a question, I want you to say where you're from and your name and maybe what you do for a living. So that way Omar knows that he's talking to someone in Jamaica or Miami or Chicago and so forth. Other than that, before I ask that I'm going to ask you one more question. What's one piece of advice that you can give someone that will really help them today?
The one piece I could...
Yeah, like if you had that piece of advice when you were young, you've had a ton of advice from some of the greatest people, that are in the industry. What would be one advice you give a person?
Never do anything for reasons. Always do it for a purpose. Do something you love, but remember, if you're going to do something you love, make sure it supports your lifestyle.
Okay.
Right? It's very important.
And
never do it for reasons. Do it for a purpose, but that purpose has to support your lifestyle. Because, I wanted to be really rich, so I would never have to suffer the way my mom and dad did as a maid and a employee gate guard. So that was my purpose, to take care of them, to help them. So gotta have a very, never do it for reasons, always do it for a purpose, and find something you love that's gonna support your lifestyle. Like, I love my lifestyle, and I love doing the things I do first. Everything I do, Bert, is first class. Everything. My kids never flown anything but first class. They've never stayed anywhere but 5-star resorts. They've never, it's all the best of the best of the best. Why? And I teach them that, that's not the norm, but you got to have such a strong purpose.
I mean, I got to show this one next picture because it also shows that even though everything you're saying, you're still about the family.
Yeah.
And, that's really important. That's your whole family right there. I think you have one of your brothers, his wife, your children are older now. I mean, it's not
my daughter next to my wife and then my son. And no, I mean, you got to, and I help my family. I help my family in all their endeavors, and I support them and I back them up. as long as it's a good deal, right? I'm not going to back them up. I'm not going to enable them to lose. I'm going to enable them to win, but I make sure that I'm involved in the business with them.
That's awesome. That's a lot of the training that you got. All right, so who's the first person we have for the questions? So, hey, Omar, thank you so much. But you'll see them pop up now, and they'll say their name. They'll tell us where they're from.
My name is Lori. I live in New York. How would you suggest that you surround yourself with the people in your field that you believe could, they're higher up than you? How do you, like you said, go after them?
What I believe is you have to find individuals that are doing what you're doing and get involved with them. And one of the ways that I did it when I had my health clubs was I found things that were valuable in the community, like Red Cross, American Cancer, Ronald McDonald, any community things, you're gonna find players there, right? Does that make sense? And you don't go there for that, but you go there because you wanna help them with their cause, but because they see you there and they get to know you, you're able to then approach them. So I believe that the great place to go is a lot of these causes that and you can go on their website and see what causes they're involved in.
There's plenty right now.
All right, thank you, Lori. What you're also talking about, Omar, is about networking. You've got to go out there and network.
Yeah.
People are getting too comfortable with this social media and they don't network. They don't go out of their comfort zone.
And you don't want to become a professional networker either. You got to be careful of that because you know those people. And that now you get busy networking, but you're not making any money, and that's not good. Anyway.
Hey, how you doing, Omar?
How you doing, champion?
All right. My name is Fritz. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
My question is, have you ever faced a roadblock doing this? I mean, I know that you a roadblock, when you start to do speaking events.
Yes.
Have you ever had a roadblock and were you discouraged?
Lots of roadblocks in every career path I took, whether it's speaking. I think he was talking about speaking. When I started out, I was told that, I couldn't speak in the larger venues, so because I didn't have the name yet, right? So that was a roadblock I had to work on, and I worked really hard to get on those Get Motivateds, and I'm on with Les. We do 35 cities a year right now. But when I owned my health clubs, and I went from having 3 with Mr. Murphy to going on my own, no one would invest in me because they didn't see the vision. So I had to really fight to, in fact, I took every dime I had and put it into the next club and just rolled the dice because no one would back me up. But once I got it going, as you know, momentum starts and people start investing in you. So yeah, there's roadblocks in everything you do, whether it's health, whether it's, business, whether it's speak, whatever it is, you're going to have roadblocks. And it's funny because I was on a radio show yesterday and we were talking about some things. We were talking about like the different phases of when you start something. And the first one is you get the haters, right? People that say, you can't do that. Come on, man. I know you, especially the ones that are closest to you. You're like, come on, really? So that's the first one. The second phase, listen to this, when they ignore you. So now you got the haters. Now you're starting to do stuff, but people ignore you. So you get ignored. Like people don't pay attention to your greatness. And then the start arriving and people start paying attention, that creates momentum. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
But I like that. I like that because everybody talks about the haters, but they don't talk about the other part of they ignore you.
Yeah, like, you and I have both felt it when we started out. They ignore us and don't realize that we have greatness to teach. But they're like ignoring us and say, oh, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah. And you told stories, I won't mention names.
Yeah, there's one phase there that we didn't talk about, which is the phase of once you finally get to a certain level, then they're afraid of you. Then they don't want to hire you. They're afraid you're going to cost them.
They want to bring you in because you're intimidating. Yeah.
So Maggie. So where are you calling from, Maggie?
Hi, Maggie.
Maggie, I'm from Mexico.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto. And I have a question, very serious one. So I have so many ideas, but all of them are so huge. And to make it happen and achieve it, I need time and money. And how to slow down my emotion, my beast, what's inside, just to be patient and to get through what I want to do in the future. Now I'm like, I want this, but I want it now. And I have to just relax, try to relax. How to do that?
Okay, so I believe that it's great that you're passionate about what you want. It's so important because I believe that if you want to succeed, like when I wanted to succeed with the health club business, I woke up thinking about it. I thought about it all the time. I would go on a date and the ladies would get so mad at me because I would be like thinking about, I'm in a movie and I'm thinking about what I could do better, right? So it's great that you're passionate. You've got to, it's got to be such a natural part of you, everything you want. You got to be the person that when you go to a networking, people walk away from you. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? That person that you go to, they see them like, oh, my boy, here they come. I got to get out of here, right? So you got to be that person. But here's one thing I want to say to you. I heard something from you that I want you to work on, and that is don't try to do too much. Remember my words, GTM. Do the things you got to pay, got to build, get the money to raise the money. Find the first thing. If you've got like 5 things you want to accomplish, look at the one that's most quick to get you there. Like I did. I want to be a recording artist, so I bought health clubs. Why? So I could buy a record company, right? And from the record company, I bought restaurants. From the restaurants, I bought apartment buildings. And then I became a developer. And then I built 1,600 apartments. So see, but I first found my niche, which was health and fitness. I was very good at it. I knew that was something that I could sell, right? So you need something, whatever it is that you want, make sure it's real. And it's something that you can put your hands on and make money tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
So do something that's going to get you there first, and then you can branch out into multiple streams of income, right?
Thank you so much.
Get the money first.
By the way, I want to say that your stories are so showing only how real you are, and I really enjoy listening to you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But GTM,
bye.
GTM, get the money first.
That's my corporation, GTM Inc.
I love it. And the thing is that a lot of people overlook that. You know, they call it their passion, but you got to get the money first because without money, you can't survive.
You know, that's so sad because we both know a lot of people have great ideas, but, you know, we've seen a lot of people buy stuff, trainings or whatever it is, real estate, internet, day trading, all that, but they don't have money to continue it. So the key is to keep your job, if that's what you've got, keep income going while you're building the other one. Or if you're going to do something, realize unless you're making money, you're not an entrepreneur. You're kidding yourself.
Okay. Belinda.
Belinda Roldan from Marshall, Minnesota.
Oh, right, Minnesota. Nice.
But I'm not a native. Okay. I want to ask you something, Omar. You know, I did a lot of research on you. You are truly inspirational. I got a question for you. And you've talked about, you know, your income, and you've talked about your wealth on all levels of your life. Okay. So you got anything left on your bucket list?
Every day. Every day. I have so much on my bucket list. I mean, like what? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I've got a bunch of stuff I'm doing. I've got one thing that's going to be kind of cool. I'm going to talk to Bert about it later. I started a new site that's going to be political called Get Fired Up. And because I was born in Cuba, I can't be president. So I'm creating the platform for everyone that's called Get Fired Up America 2016. So once we choose the 2 people that for the parties, I want everyone to have conversations to see and get the vote out. So that's one thing. But bucket list, I have tons, you know, like, you know, I love to travel. So one of my bucket lists is to go around the world. There's a gentleman named Richard Branson. He owns Virgin Airlines, and you've heard of him. Anyway, he's a billionaire. He has now a plane that goes around the world that takes a year, and they fly you around the world. It's $1.5 million to do it. So that's something I'd like to do once my kids get in college and stuff. Go around the world. And it's a private jet, 747, and everything is 5-star. Every hotel is 5-star. Cruises, the ships, it's crazy. Private jets when you go to different places, because that 747 can't go everywhere. Monte Carlo, Italy, Switzerland, Portugal, Spain, China, Japan. You get it, right? It's all first class.
And Omar, now we can go to Cuba too.
And I'm going to Cuba too. I want to see where I was born. Yeah.
Thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
Okay, we got 2 more. We're going to bring in 2 more questions for you, but it's funny how things change, huh, Omar? We were never going to go to Cuba. Now we have an opportunity.
Yeah. I was trying to get out. Now I want to get back in.
What's been the most satisfying part of your journey?
The most satisfying part of my journey has been being able to give back to my mom and dad their life. My mom and dad are really nice people, as Bert told you. And my dad worked as an employee gate guard. He had 3 double bypasses, 5 heart attacks, a lot of health problems. My mom's a wonderful lady. She had a stroke. So my biggest, I think, was taking care of my parents. I retired them 18 years ago. Every 3 years, I lease them a new little Expedition or Explorer now, because my dad was taking out mailboxes with the Expedition. So I get a little Explorer every 3 years. And I own the home they live in. This is all public knowledge. You can see it. I own their home. And I rehabbed it, totally tricked it out. Looks awesome. All the best of the best. And that's one of my greatest journeys, because I thought they were never going to get anything, because my dad had lost everything 3 times, and he really was having a tough time with it. So that's one of them. But I've got a bunch of things, but that's one of them.
I want to go ahead and put up a real quick screen. This is the screen. Take a screenshot of that. This is how you contact them. Tell us about the link here. I know we couldn't put your link, but this link goes to that program you're talking about. Tell us about the program and then Ben play.
I do a little event, as you know. Your team has been to it a few times. It's a 1-day event with me, and I teach people the Mind Success Connection, goal setting, and then I talk about that book, Investigative Selling. And then I talk about Mind Success Connection, goal setting, investigative selling, presentation skills. So it's kind of like by the time you leave from 9 to 5, you got a good plan for the rest of the year. It's really cool.
I mean, last time I was speaking to Eric Stoller when we were doing the event, the Champion Mindset event.
Yeah.
I said one of the speakers that I told this day I still enjoy watching him on stage for a full day, 2 days. In fact, I miss your 2 days programs. Those 2-day programs are amazing. It's Omar. I mean, it's just you learn so much, and I've been to your events a ton of times. We've spoken on the same platform, and I always learn something new. So if you guys are able to go, I recommend it. If you're able to see him in the Get Motivated seminar, they're all over the country. I would definitely go see Omar. So before I call this out, remember guys, we're going to continue the conversation on Facebook. I want to thank everyone. Omar, thank you so much for the time that you've given us and all the knowledge and the information. And looking forward to interview you maybe in another 5 years. Maybe we're doing it from that airplane with Virgin Islands,
There you go. Thank you, Bert, and thank you to your team. You got a great team, and I love you, and I'm proud of you, and you are the real deal, and there's not a lot of us left. So God bless you and your family, and keep up the great work. I'm proud of you, and let's make it happen, baby.
Make it happen. Champion. You're a champion, right?
That's right.
Yeah, one of the things I always use that's yours, and I know you got it from your mentor, but I love it, is that
champions don't moan, champions don't bitch, champions go out and get rich.
All right, guys, thank you so much. My name is Bert Oliva. Remember to live life and don't let life live you. I will see you next Wednesday.
Register online and join us today for all new live interviews and weekly topics only at themastermindcircle.com.